welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, yesterday was fun. It was an eventful day. The Jets traded.
I don't know about fun. I'd say eventful is correct.
Yeah, fun was more being facetious there. It was a good time, right? You know, the Jets traded away Sauce Gardner. They traded away Quinn Williams. But the real talk, Mike, some are saying, the real talk is that the Jets traded for Jasir Taylor. And I'm going to keep saying that joke until it is not funny anymore, which probably wasn't the first time, but I'm going to keep saying it. We got a lot to talk about. We went live yesterday with a rare emergency pod where we broke down the Sauce trade, broke down the Quinnen trade, tried to make sense of everything that was going on in Jets land. And I don't even think we scratched the surface on what happened yesterday or even what didn't happen, because there was a lot that the Jets didn't do that we didn't really get to talk about yesterday. They didn't trade Breece Hall, didn't trade Jermaine Johnson. Quincy Williams is still on the team. Alan Lazard, Michael Clemens. There's a lot of trades the Jets didn't do on top of the ones.
Complete inversion of what we thought would happen.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the trades that they didn't do. We're going to talk about some of the players that they acquired, because the Jets did acquire 3 players. Maybe they traded away 2, but they did bring in 3 new faces that we touched on a little bit, but we'll go a little more in depth here. Mike, how are you feeling now that the dust is settled? We're a little over, it's like 24 hours since those trades happened. How are you feeling? How's your
still not thrilled, because again, we're not going to find out really who won this trade until years down the line, and who knows what that's going to look like. So we just got to bide our time. John Mundock, I couldn't miss today's show. Like, WTF, really? Yeah, that's a good way to describe yesterday. Even if you like the trade, that's a good way to describe yesterday. As we mentioned before, not to rehash, the entire show, but for those that missed it, generally we're both on board with Quinn Williams. That was a Godfather offer that you couldn't refuse. Yeah. We've seen that thrown around a lot about Sauce. Quinn, and it really was. You could not turn that down. Sauce, a little more mixed. There are ways you could not justify it, but it makes more sense if you talk it through.
Well, I agree. I would say justify it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't particularly love it, because I don't think you're going to get a singular talent like that guy anytime soon. And the timeline may not have been amazing, but he was only going to be 28 at the end of that contract. I mean, it's not like he's an old man. So I think the timeline could have fit if they hit on the quarterback, but he's in Indianapolis now. We got 2 more first-round picks out of that deal, 1 more from the Dallas deal. So 5 in the next 2 years. We're loaded there. We'll get into that, though. Thank you for tuning in. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And on YouTube, subscribe. You can like the stream. That really helps. You can join our membership. That helps. You can hype our video and go for that little chat crown doohickey if you chat the most. So all of those things help support the show, help drive us up those charts. So let's just get back right into it. Before we get to the deals that did not happen, we got to talk Sauce specifically more, because that changed the entire power balance of the AFC, that move. Yeah. And in tandem with Aaron Glenn's press conferences, which I find funny, because I saw some Jets fans ripping Glenn for some of those comments. Like, he 100% didn't sign off on all of these things.
What comments did he? I watched that whole press conference. It seemed very mundane.
It was a lot of the end. Like, I never said you'd be proud right now, but we'll be proud later. That type of,
Who cares, bro? Who cares?
Yeah, it's just people looking to complain because people don't like Aaron Glenn for some reason, because I don't know why. But one thing that I think has become evident, and I've mentioned this on the show weeks ago, Justin has mentioned this weeks ago. I think we thought it, and now I think it's been crystallized by the Jets' actions. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, the big mistakes they made so far is they overvalued their pass roster. They thought it was better than it was. They thought that it wasn't so tied to Robert Saleh from a schematic point of view. And they thought that their acumen would be enough to get this team contending again. And it isn't. So they figured, all right, what's the asset we have that people want? The biggest asset we have that people want? Well, there's 2 of them. Can't trade both of them. One's Garrett Wilson, one's Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner is gone. Looking at Glenn's comments, I don't think he necessarily wanted Sauce Gardner gone. I find it hard to believe a cornerback of that level, who's been a defensive coach at his level for a very long time, who partially was brought in because of his experience with defensive backs and building secondaries in Detroit, despite literally just haphazard spit and duct tape trying to stick a secondary together, and he had some good results. I find it hard to believe he's going to say, without Sauce Gardner, our secondary will improve. I think he's willing to make concessions there. I think what Aaron Glenn admitted, though, was I need to go and say this is what Aaron Glenn wants to build his team. This is what Darren Muji wants to build his team. And nobody with a brain is going to say Sauce Gardner's not a good player or that Sauce Gardner didn't help the Jets win and have whatever little success they had over there, because he absolutely did, because he's awesome. But he's saying, all right, I need a specific kind of player if I want to build this thing my way. And that's not just on the field, that's off the field. And let's be honest, nobody's going to say Sauce is a bad person or he's lackadaisical or doesn't care or anything like that, because it seems like he's a good guy who cares a lot and wants to win a lot. But it just seemed like somehow things weren't meshing with Aaron Glenn. And I don't think things were going to mesh the longer it went on. Now, the flip side of that, which I get, is, well, Sauce Gardner's so good, you'll work around that. And I totally get that point of view. You're not going to hear a rebuttal from me. But this was a big move where Aaron Glenn said, all right, we're not doing this half Robert Saleh. I'm going to try and make Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas's vision work. This is a clean sweep. We're going to get rid of as many of the old guys as possible. We may not win, but we're going to lose with my guys and guys that Darren Muji drafts. We're not going to try to make Robert Saleh's vision work with a new coat of paint on it.
Yeah, look, there are a million reasons why the Jets made this trade, and we touched on a lot of them yesterday, and we could mention some of them in passing today. But yeah, listening to that Aaron Glenn presser, Mike, you hit the nail on the head. That was my biggest takeaway. I don't think he said a lot in that press conference until the very end, where he was asked basically, you know, the roster that you inherited, you kind of came in and thought, all right, we can win some games now. And well, now you're sitting here, you're 1-7, and you just traded away 2 of your top 3 players in the roster. Basically, the question was, did you overvalue the roster? Did you come in and maybe bite off a little bit more than you could chew, thinking you can contend this year? And Glenn, he thought about it for a little bit. Like, it was very noticeable that he kind of sat there and thought for a few seconds before he responded. And
which means yes, because he's very not often at a loss for words, and it seems like he was there for a little bit.
He came across to me like he didn't want to say the wrong thing. He wanted to really choose his words carefully here. And the gist of what he said was, you know, and this was in response to, you know, basically, why did you trade away Sauce Gardner, Quinn Williams? Obviously not exactly in those words, but, you know, part of it. He basically said, we wanted to reshape the roster in my vision, in Darren Muji's vision, and we want to get guys in here who we believe share our vision, right? That was the gist of what he said. Now, I don't read that as we were wanting to trade away Sauce Gardner or we wanted to trade away Quinn Williams because we don't think
or that players like that, as football players, don't meet their vision. Right. I think
yes,
talent-wise, they fit everybody's vision because they're that good.
Absolutely. Sauce Gardner is, again, I've said it, I think he's the best pure cover corner in the NFL. We could debate value and how, you know, not being able to create takeaways. And I know the tackling's been better this year, but he's had tackling issues in the past. We can talk about the value standpoint of it. But as far as a pure cover corner goes, I think he's the best in the NFL right now. And it's not to say that he's a bad guy, right? But I think there is a conversation to be had. I think there's something to be said about how the organization internally views a player and a person like Sauce Gardner versus how they view Garrett Wilson. I know we talked about this yesterday. A big reason that the Jets aren't even considering trading Garrett Wilson is, well, you're acquiring these assets to build around a rookie quarterback that you're going to draft. Trading away Garrett Wilson would be stupid because that's your star player. And I think that's absolutely part of it. But I also think there's part of it that is, well, Garrett Wilson is also the person that we want in this locker room, right? And it's not that they don't want a person like Sauce Gardner in the locker room. Because again, it's not like he's a malcontent. He's not causing issues in the locker room. But I do think there's something to be said about, you know, he wasn't a team captain, Mike. Like, he wasn't, and that's something we kind of shrugged off. And I think most Jets fans weren't shocked by that because we don't really view Sauce as that type of like vocal rah-rah leader. But, you know, now there's Quinn Williams. I mean, Quinn Williams has developed into more of like a vocal leader, but he's never been the rah-rah type of guy. There's no CJ Mosley in that Jets locker room right now, right? Or at least that's, you know, prominent.
Jermaine is the
Jermaine would be that guy, right? I think Jermaine would be voted captain before Sauce Gardner, which, you know, it's saying something, right? And I just think there's something to that. And I also think you have to consider the fact that Aaron Glenn's a former Pro Bowl cornerback. He played cornerback for years in the NFL. He's coached DBs throughout his coaching career. He's been a defensive coordinator a lot in his career. He's been all around the position. He knows that position, you know, more than almost anybody in the league. I think if Aaron Glenn thought that Sauce Gardner was the type of irreplaceable, we can't get rid of this guy as a player and we can't get rid of this guy as a locker room influence, if they thought he was that type of asset, I don't know if there would have been a price. Maybe like 3 first-round picks, but no team's offering that, right? I don't think 2 first-round picks. Like I said this to you right before the show, Mike. Like I think if they had Pat Surtain, I don't think they trade Pat Surtain. And I don't want to make this like a Pat Surtain versus Sauce Gardner argument, but I just think there is more to it than just performance based. Like we look at this almost like when we're analyzing this, and this is just a product of us not being in the building, right? A product of us not having personal relationships with these players. We look at this as almost like a spreadsheet, right? Where it's like, oh, these are Sauce Gardner's numbers. He's the best cover corner in the NFL for X, Y, and Z, and here are his accolades and all that, right? But we overlook and don't account for the personal element of this sometimes. And I think with Sauce Gardner, I just think reading between the lines of what Aaron Glenn said, there is something to the fact that I don't believe they looked at him as this untouchable asset who we have to keep around as a core building block, not only on the field, but as a leader off the field. I think there's something to that. And again, that's not me saying that that's the primary reason that they did this trade. I just think when they're valuing Sauce Gardner versus Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner, even just versus like a hypothetical version of Sauce Gardner that they view in a different light, I think there was less hesitancy to trade him because of that. I think that's a factor. That's some reflection I've had over the last 24 hours.
The problem I have with that though is like, let's say this was, I don't want to say not because it's not character related. That's the wrong.
Yeah, it's not.
That's the wrong term. But let's say it was locker room fit related.
Sure.
The problem with that is when you reach a certain level of talent, not that he's necessarily a malcontent, but you work around it to a degree, and you can have tons of great leaders, vocal leaders, emotional leaders, intelligence leaders. You can have all that, but if you don't have the guys to implement this vision talent-wise, well, then your vision's no good because you don't have the tools necessary. So Aaron Glenn can have this vision of what the Jets will look like ideally under him, but if he doesn't he's not going to get a Sauce Gardner level talent at cornerback ever again. Maybe in the aggregate, a bunch of guys can combine to somewhat replace it, but I don't know. Well, then how can you really implement your vision for the team without a guy like that? How can you implement Quinnen's less so, but how can you implement your defensive vision with no pass rush? How can you implement your offensive vision with no quarterback? Like at a certain point, you do need guys, and not every guy is going to be a drone that conforms to the Aaron Glenn way of thinking. As cool, we may like how Aaron Glenn thinks about a lot of things. Not every guy's going to do that.
And not every guy that
trade
does.
Sauce Gardner because he doesn't do that. I don't want to say it's rash, but the ability to replace him and find somebody that can make this team what Aaron Glenn wants it to be, it's going to take a while. It may take longer than he even thinks it will.
I was going to say, and not every guy that does is necessarily someone you should keep around. I think Quincy Williams fits what Aaron Glenn wants. I think he fits the vision. I don't think the Jets should re-sign Quincy Williams. Like that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, I agree like with what you're saying, Mike. But that's why this isn't the only reason you traded Sauce Gardner. This is not even the primary reason that you traded him. I'm just saying that I think there's less hesitancy to deal him, to move a player like Sauce, given that ideological difference, right? The whole other, host of reasons why you're trading Sauce Gardner, right? Financial timelines not matching up. Like you need, as an organization in the NFL, you need kind of everything to line up in this perfect storm blend of, financial timelines, the QB developmental timeline, your core player ages need to all line up as well. Like you got to get the right players at the right positions at the right time, all peaking together. And I just think with the core that they had, I think they did not think that was going to happen with a guy like Sauce Gardner, with, obviously Garrett Wilson.
Well, then why extend him? You thought that a couple months ago.
Well, again, because the offer came up that they got 2 first-round picks. It's not that they wanted to trade Sauce Gardner. It's all cost-benefit analysis. It's you get the right offer to the point where you're like, okay, well, we believe, again, these assets that we're going to acquire, which can be turned into premium players at positions that might impact winning more or might contribute to developing our young quarterback more, which is the single most important way, the single most conducive way to success in the NFL is drafting and developing a quarterback. And we believe that having those guys, those premium assets on rookie deals is more valuable than Sauce Gardner. And I also think Adonai Mitchell, I like Adonai Mitchell a lot. We'll talk about that later. I don't think that's like what put it over the top, but I think that's a hell of a sweetener for the deal as well. So it's all of those things factored in. I'm not saying that the personality, ideological vision thing is the principal reason that the Jets traded Sauce Gardner, but I think it's part of it. I think it's an underlooked part of it that isn't really discussed as much because we as fans don't analyze the game the same way that people that know, people that are in the building do. Like we just don't have this personal
You also can't get too, not to get too WFAN color, but you don't want to get too spreadsheety and just say, well, this player is worth this number of picks, and then no matter what, if we get an offer, we'll swap them in and out, because then I think you're losing you're losing the forest through the trees a little bit in terms of roster building. Like, it's not just getting value in trade. It's not just getting, like, stockpiling picks.
For sure.
Like, you have, like, Quinnen and Sauce, people try to conflate the two, I think, a little bit. I think they're two different situations. Sauce, even across the league in the last, this is an utterly unique situation that I can't really find an equivalent to. Really the closest one, honestly, and I know I bring this up a lot, and, maybe it's not fair because it was a while ago, and, it didn't work out for one team, but I can't get, like, Khalil Mack to the Bears out of my mind. And sometimes it does. Spreadsheet-wise, it was great. They got a haul for him, but the Bears got the superior player and were better in that time.
Again, I think a big difference there is the Raiders had a quarterback. Like, they had Derek Carr. They weren't trying to draft the quarterback, and then they whiffed miserably on their picks, right? You can't operate with the assumption.
Josh Jacobs was the only half-decent one.
Right, and that was also, like, top 10 pick on a running back that was, obviously he's a very good player.
24, but yeah.
Oh, not top 10 pick, my bad, but 24th, whatever he was.
I also, that was Cleveland Ferrell, number 4. That was that one.
Yes, and then David Arnett in the 20s or whatever. I don't think Henry Ruggs was used one of those picks, but that was right around that same era. Very tough.
That will never have a sour ending.
Yeah, but you can't operate with the assumption that the Jets are going to whiff on their picks, because obviously the regime isn't going to operate on their assumption. Right. Like, that's just the losers. Not that saying you have that, but that's a loser's mentality. I've seen other people be like, oh, it doesn't matter what the Jets are doing with these picks because they're going to mess up.
Sucks or Muji sucks.
Like, they have good players. Now they're going to draft bad players. You can't, like, that's not how the organization can think. I understand as a
honestly,
fan.
Don't watch football if we're going to do that.
Let's get to
just every move is going to be terrible. Let's
get to a few comments because there's some good discussion. This is like just ultimately roster building in the NFL. And I love talking about roster building in the NFL. It's so fun to me. First, Benicia said, I'm okay with dismantling our core because we have been regressing for 2 years. Obviously, it wasn't Sauce's or Quinn's fault, but they need new guys. Yeah, I think like that aligns with what I was saying, where you need the contract timelines to align, and you need your core players to all peak at the same time. And especially Quinnen, certainly. Like, again, a very different conversation with Quinnen and Sauce. I'm not saying that Sauce, again, like you said, he'd be 28 years old by the end of his rookie contract, or by the end of this contract that he's on right now. He'd still be a great player, I'm sure, but it's the fact of having him on that rookie contract, multiple assets, all of that stuff.
And I guess the argument too isn't Sauce so singularly good as a cornerback that he's kind of exempt from like Quinnen, very good player, contract snafu coming up, been there for a bunch of years, it might just be time kind of thing. Like, that's not really where Sauce is right now. He's younger, he's better, he's paid more. Like, some players are exempt from this sort of way of thinking. And I guess the debate is Sauce in that tier? Some might say yes, some might say no. Jets obviously thought no.
So the Jets obviously believed no. They believed that he did not impact winning enough to be in that tier. And I get that perspective. I do. Brian, who I believe was pretty anti-Sauce trade yesterday, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm coming around to the view that there is some level of inherent rot amongst Jets players who played under Gase and or Saleh.
That is true.
Whether Glenn is the guy to remove that rot remains to be seen. And then he also added on, at what point do you signal for a complete 53-man overhaul? Not today, not with Garrett Wilson and Jermaine Johnson still in their primes. I wouldn't say like a complete overhaul they just did, but they certainly overhauled a good chunk of it, at least a good chunk of the core. And as far as the inherent rot goes, yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And I think that's why you see Muji and Glenn wanting to get their guys in the building, right? Whether right or wrong, I'm not saying that, like, I've been very critical of Aaron Glenn this year. And I think there's still a lot, like, obviously progress in that Bengals game. There's been progress lately, but a lot to prove, right? A lot to prove the rest of the year, a lot to prove going into next year. He's likely.
What does he have to prove it with now? He's got even less.
You can be competitive with this roster still. You can still win games.
Isn't the intention too? Isn't this almost kind of tanky too?
I think there's an element to it that, again, I don't think that's the motivation, but I think there's an element of like a silver lining of like, well, we just traded away 2 of our best players. We're in a position where we're likely going to be drafting a quarterback. now it's not bad if we end up with a top pick. But no, the Jets are not trying to tank. And I also don't think it's good for the organization if they lose out. Like if the Jets don't win another game this year, that's not good. That's a bad thing, especially if we're looking at the future of guys like Breece Hall, right? Who I believe he's speaking to the media now. I believe he just clarified that he did not request a trade.
Oh, dude, no, don't need to lie.
However, he declined to answer when he was asked if he wanted out. So
yes, I want out.
Semantics to me. He wants out, but he didn't request a trade, right? Like officially, formally request a trade.
So I'm just going to stay here and be miserable and subtweet about how I don't want to be here, but I'm not going to actually try to get out of here.
Right. Well, if you want a guy like that to buy in, you have to win football games. You have to. And I know people want the quarterback. Guess what? The Jets have all the assets in the world to get whatever quarterback they realistically want in the draft, right? As long as, like, obviously, if a quarterback needy team is so dead set on picking like Mendoza first overall, right? Maybe they can't get him. But
yeah, the worse Tyler Shuck looks, I think the more likely it is Mendoza going 1-1.
I don't think this is a one quarterback draft for starters, right? And the Jets have so many assets that I think by far the biggest goal for this season should be winning as many football games as possible still. And I think they absolutely can. You have to overachieve, right? The offense just put up 40 points. The offense didn't get any worse this weekend or, on yesterday. It did not get any worse on Tuesday. They did not trade away any offensive players.
They got better because they added players.
Right. They added Adonai Mitchell. They got John Mechie in the trade with the Eagles. So, there's no reason, in my opinion, that the Jets, I'll say this. I think the Jets win a similar amount of games than they would have if they didn't trade Sauce and Quinnen. It's not like Sauce and Quinnen were significantly impacting winning this season regardless. I think the Jets...
Right, but how much of that's them?
No, I'm not saying that they're not great players. It's the nature of you don't have a quarterback right now that you can consistently rely on, and you've had a coaching staff for most of the year that has not maximized the talent you've had, combined with other major roster flaws, which your pass rush is non-existent, your linebackers have underwhelmed. Like, there's a bunch of other factors to that, which is why I don't think trading away Sauce and Quinnen makes them like what if they go from winning 4 games to 3. Okay. You're threatening me with that? Like, who cares? Like, they're going to lose a lot of games this year regardless. You could still judge Aaron Glenn. You could still judge the coaching staff on not just if they're winning games, but being competitive, making smart in-game management, making correct decisions with personnel. And if you're looking at Tanner Engstrand, getting the offense to overachieve with the talent that you have.
Okay, Garrett Goodlander's back. Maybe we should trade for Kirk.
I just hit my head on my mic. No, they're not gonna.
They're not gonna
trade for Kirk Cousins. Although there is gonna be a conversation at some point about Kyler Murray, and then today we're not gonna have that conversation today. It's a lot of people talking about it right now, and I'm not saying that was what I would want. Just like Garrett, I did not say I wanted Kirk Cousins. I did not say that. I never once said that. I said there was a world where I could see it making sense. But
okay, a couple more comments before we got to move on. Kevin G. Remember Aaron Glenn's history of developing cornerbacks. Look at Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, too, and Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold's bad, though. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph in Detroit. And Stevens looks amazing. Yes, but even if you develop cornerbacks, like, to develop a guy into Sauce, to find a guy with the level of Sauce, that's not going to happen. So
no one thinks that's going to happen, though. No one's asking.
I think there are some fans who are on the Sauce's overrated train who's like, oh, Aaron Glenn can just coach a guy up and he can be Sauce stronger. Like, I feel like they don't realize talent-wise where he was and how hard that is to replace.
There's an argument. There's a conversation about quote-unquote Sauce is overrated, I think, from a value perspective. But again, as a pure cover corner, I think he's the best NFL. He's the best cornerback in the NFL. I'm not going to have time for people that are saying Azaria Thomas has any realistic chance of becoming Sauce Gardner. But that's not the point. Like, you don't trade Sauce Gardner because you think Azaria Thomas can be Sauce Gardner. That's not why you're making the trade. You're understanding that you're at a downgraded position. But to what Kevin was saying, I think there's something about the fact that the Jets also feel very confident in their cornerback room. They like the guys in that room. They like Brandon Stevens. Clearly, they liked him way more than we did, way more than the NFL did, way more than the Ravens did this offseason. And to his credit, he's played really well for most of the year. Since like week 2 or 3, he's been really good, like genuinely really good. And I think he's going to regress to the mean a little bit. I don't expect him to play at this level.
Covering ones will be a real skill check here.
I don't expect him to play to this level for the rest of his contract, but if he's a cornerback 2 and Azaria can be a cornerback 2, then all right, man. And then Jarvis Brownlee's there too. Like, I don't think cornerback is a position that I'm particularly concerned about right now. Maybe I'll change my tune in 5 weeks if Stevens starts, playing like last year, Brandon Stevens again, and Thomas is consistently getting beat over the top. I'm willing to change my tune on that. But right now I'm not concerned, and I don't get the sense the Jets are either.
Cassandra, I'm concerned that it's not a 1 quarterback draft because it's a 0 quarterback draft. Well, I think they got 3 legitimate first-round prospects,
Yeah.
possibly 4 if Sellers declares. That's a good draft for
Yeah.
quarterbacks.
I don't even know, dude. I don't even know if Sellers would go round 1 if he declared.
I think he will, but I'm saying they have 3 who are going, I
Yeah.
think for sure, and 1 who probably will if he does.
There are 3 that if they declare, I'm not positive Dante Moore declares. I'm leaning towards I think he will. Same goes for Ty. I would think Ty Simpson declares.
I think he does too.
But there's 3 guys in Mendoza, Moore, and Simpson who I think are intriguing quarterback prospects that, pick your poison depending on what you want in a quarterback. Like there's stuff to develop there. And I'm excited, Mike, because this is gonna be the first time that we've really, really dove into talking about quarterbacks on the show. Like in the existence of the Jet Press podcast, because when we started, they had Zach, and then they went out and got Rodgers.
Well, there was a debate of non-Rodgers options for a while.
It was, but Kyler's going on IR, dude, soft benching. He's welcome to Florham Park, Kyler Murray. No, but I'm excited for us to
try to win with Jacoby Brissett at your own peril is what I would say.
He's playing pretty well right now. I think Jacoby Brissett is one of the best backups in the league, and he's proven that pretty much every time.
I mean, the Patriots, he was unwatchable.
He was also unwatchable in Miami. He was really bad there. But Cleveland,
so it depends entirely on where he is then.
I think he's doing well right now in Arizona. He's playing better than Kyler Murray was. I'll say that. I don't think he's better than Kyler Murray, but he's playing better than Kyler Murray is in that system. But
Brian Sternbeck, I'm still feeling a personal betrayal from the Jets trading away my favorite player after signaling he would be here for the rest of the decade.
And that's the thing. You have to the fan perspective, and I feel that way too. Like it's definitely,
you can't just beat people over the head with value added charts. Like this is tough for a fan base.
The emotional reaction is valid. Like it's a totally valid reaction as a fan to be emotionally invested in this team for some reason, and emotionally invested in players who were cornerstones of the roster, homegrown stars who we believed would be franchise building blocks. I get why it's devastating to see that guy, a guy like that leave, and two guys like that leave, because there's 2 of them. Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams.
And then Brian, one before we go on to our next topic. Assuming they end the season on a 9-game losing streak, I'm all for letting Glenn and Muji build it in their vision. I can't promise I won't call for their jobs if it looks bad. Absolutely. Next year. They made these moves. This is the moves of a coach, that GM who know they're going to be back next year and will probably have a very long leash.
Yeah.
I think the hot seat, specifically among Jets fans, it's always hotter inside the fan base, but if you get outside the Jets bubble, most people are saying, man, I like Aaron Glenn. They just got to give him some time. And if you look big picture, it's, man, I like Muji. We got to give him some time. Only when you get to like the granular Jets fans, it's like fire everybody, start over again. Yeah. I think you got to look at that perspective sometimes.
Look, you want to really coal off the seat? Win a couple of games you shouldn't down the stretch. That's all it takes.
People might get more upset because now you don't have to get the top pick.
People will be upset, but they won't be upset at Aaron Glenn. They will be like, okay, hey. Like, I think this fan base just desperately wants something to believe in, whether that's a quarterback, whether it's a regime, whether it's both. They want to believe that they're headed in the right direction.
Well, they had the defense for a while, and then Zach Wilson took our joy away.
And I think going into this year, Jets fans were feeling that way. They did feel like, okay, I mean, obviously there were some Rodgers truthers that were like, we fucking blew it all up.
Oh, they're still out there.
There are, but I'm not talking about those people. I think there were a lot of Jets fans that were very confident or optimistic in this new era, in this new regime. And the bar was in hell, man. All they had to do was not look like, pieces of shit, not look like dog shit for the first 8 games of the year. And they really couldn't do that until last week or until 2 weeks ago.
I mean, they were in a lot of these games. They were close.
A lot of it was, I would say, phony. Like the Steelers game was not phony. The Bucs game was phony. I think they were thoroughly outplayed for. Yeah,
but they were still, that's with a backup on the road against that team. The fact they were in that game is a good game, is it not?
Todd Bowles let his foot off the gas pedal and they got a blocked field goal, and that's the only reason they were in.
Yeah, but they count as points,
I will not give the Jets coaching staff significant credit for that game. I will not give them a lot of credit for most of the games this year. I'll give them credit for Pittsburgh, and I'll give them credit for Cincinnati, maybe Miami. Like, there's also some situations where it's just clearly been the quarterback.
Denver they should have beat, and then Fields was unplayable.
Denver's not a coaching staff. Well, there were some coaching staff.
Well, if you didn't, but I mean, Fields was so.
Sticking with Fields, actually, Glenn had a really bad game in Denver too. But
Carolina was the biggest. Like, what do you want him to do? Game.
I don't want to play like a retrospective here on the coaching staff, because I think they've done a piss poor job for a lot of the year. But I think they're trending in the right direction. They had a good win in Cincinnati. I thought Glenn pressed all the right buttons. Engstrand obviously called a fantastic game, and the players responded. And I thought Glenn was very aggressive in his approach. And I'd like to believe that he's learning on the job, and I'd like to believe that this coaching staff is improving. I'd like to see results. I want to see you win a couple of games you shouldn't. Why can't you go to, New England and put up a fight and maybe even steal a win? Why can't you do that? Right?
I don't think because Tyler Barron and Michael Clemens will play heavy snaps.
They've still Jermaine. Tyler Barron's gonna be a healthy stretch. They still got Jermaine and Will McDowell. They didn't trade them. You got Jay Tufele playing defensive threat, playing 3-tech now. That's a problem. But
Isaiah Oliver dime snaps against Drake May.
Listen, man, punch above your weight class.
They did with Denver, and then
upsets happen in the NFL every single week, especially now. There is more parity in this league than there ever has been. There is no reason the Jets can't steal a couple of wins that they probably shouldn't get, or steal a couple of games they probably shouldn't win down the stretch. I want to believe in this staff. Win some games.
In a lot of years of Jets, losing to the Broncos like that might have been one of the most frustrating losses I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it was terrible, man.
That was because literally, if you get top 75 quarterback play, you win that game.
And guess what? If they come out on Sunday and Justin Fields shrinks into a pumpkin again, like he did, has multiple times this year against a very good defense in Cleveland, and the Jets defense gives up 40 points because they just lost two of their best players, pessimism is going to return, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, look, man, the product needs to be better. You can't get blown out by the Browns. You just
then the response is going to be, well, they just traded Quinlan Sauce. What do you want?
I don't give a shit who they traded, Mike. They can't lose by 30 to the Browns. They can't.
I mean, 30 is an extreme example, but
if Fields is terrible and they score 7 points and the defense lets up 37, would anybody be shocked?
I mean, yes, that by 30 to Dylan Gabriel, I would be shocked.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That'd be terrible. That'd be awful.
Let's talk about guys they didn't trade, because they didn't trade a couple guys I thought they would trade. Breece Hall, still a Jet, much to his chagrin. Quincy Williams, still a Jet. His brother is not. We thought it'd be the other way around, but here we are with that. And Jermaine Johnson.
Hold on. Sorry, I just caught up on chat. Someone said in chat, Fried, I love what he's calling me Fried.
Fried. Listen, you're Fried.
I'm playing my high school coach. Fried, you said Quinn Williams wasn't getting traded until the offseason. You got to own that one. I said that what I specifically said, Rob, was that I think I said the words, it feels like more of an offseason situation. But if the Jets receive a ridiculous haul, you never know. This totally could happen.
If they get a first and a third, and they got a first and a second.
They got a first and a second. I think I literally said
and a player who stinks, but a player.
I think I literally said last week, if the Jets get a first and a third for Quinnen, you really got, I think they'll really consider that. They got a first and a second.
From a team that's not even in the playoffs.
And in the first year, they're going to get the higher of two firsts. Like that.
They're going to have 4 top 50 picks next year.
Right.
Possibly.
I never once said the words, the Jets are not trading Quinnen Williams. I said they're not. I think this feels like more of an offseason conversation, unless they receive a haul that's, too much to pass up. This was one of them. Sorry, I caught that in chat. I was catching up on it. I had to call that out.
So to rapid fire it a little bit, Quincy, I don't want to say disappointed because, they would have got a 4th or 5th round pick. I'm really not going to be wringing my hands about missing out on an extra 4th round pick or 5th round pick. You would like it, but it's certainly not going to be destabilizing. He's better than Francis Mauigoa right now, and it gives the defense a little more semblance of competency right after you lose 2 all-pro level talents, which I think part of it is Glenn and Muji. All right, we got to have a minimum viable product here. We can't just play Mauigoa and Jay Tufele and then give up 40 points every week. I think that may be played into it. And then if we lose Quincy Williams, we lose Quincy Williams. Wouldn't be the first time guys go in free agency. Factors into the comp pick formula, whatever. So, surprised, mildly disappointed, but not too upset. Jermaine, this is where things get interesting because we were talking about, man, if they get a second or something like that, which I think would be a lot for Jermaine Johnson, you consider it. And they got a second offer to him by, I think, the Bears. Well, and they turned it down.
I don't think it wasn't said what team. Connor Hughes reported they received a second. I haven't seen anyone else.
And the Bears and 49ers were reportedly in on him.
I believe Schultz said that the Jets wanted a second and the Bears did not offer it. I believe.
Oh, okay.
He said. Although I also other reporters have said that, have not said the Jets got a second. So that's just Connor reporting that. Not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying that's only one source saying it. But if that's true, Mike, if they received a second as an offer for Jermaine, yeah, I'm surprised they didn't take that. I can't lie. I'm surprised they didn't take that.
So, yeah, they didn't take that. But then my surprise turned to joy because he puts out that statement, which...
What a gem.
What a guy, man. To sit through all that, a string of losing that broke Quinnen Williams because he wanted to go.
Understandably so.
Yeah, we don't blame him for that. Sauce privately is probably is happy he's going from a 1-7 team to a 7-2 team.
Sauce feels like to me, and I don't want to make a whole thing about it, as a person. I feel like he cares a little. Like I feel like he's got some AJ Brown in him, where he's like, well, if my numbers look good, I think he cares a little less about the.
Well, I mean, I think he cares about it, but
sure. He's also
he's happier right now in the Colts than he was on the Jets.
I'm sure he's also been here less time than Quinnen. Quinnen's had some more losing to beat him down.
Yeah, and his first year they were decent. That was the 7-4 start, and then Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore and a couple other things, but. Brees is the weird one, though, because it's one thing Harold Fannin looks good. That was his guy. Yeah.
Was it really? Oh, yeah, he does look good.
Well, Mason Taylor looks good, too, though. So
were we anti-Harold Fannin?
No, I think we just liked Taylor. That was always his guy, and we said second round's probably too early for him.
Well, yeah, obviously with Taylor, you're hoping he's a more complete player than Fannin is at some point.
Then we'll see this week against linebackers who can't cover. So.
Dude, they're both good players. Rodney Gadsden's killing it in LA as well. A lot of good tight ends in this class.
So, but Brees is... This is a weird trade. Sauce trade is good business. Williams trade bad business. I would flip that around.
I would love to know the rationale behind that. That's they say on the internet, there's always someone who has every opinion, right?
Yeah.
It's the first I've seen someone say that. And I'd honestly love to hear him out. If you want to explain why.
Yeah, all right, Tafster, John Taffer over there.
Explain yourself.
So the Brees one is surprising because it'd be one thing if the trade deadline came and went, they didn't trade him. It looks like they may transition tag him. They may try to work a deal out. He's still really good, 5 yards a carry with a bunch of stack boxes. And then he's your running back for whoever this quarterback coming in is. I'm like, all right, I like that. Then he gets all pissy on social media, and I don't want to be here, no comment. He's DMing Ben Kurt, saying, trade me.
That was pretty wild.
That throws a wrench into things now because, you have to consider player emotions off. That's why Quinnen Williams got traded because of emotions, but this went from, if you're not trading him, it's a slam dunk to keep him for the future because he's really good. But if he's just going to do this the entire time and just complain that he's not traded and I want to go to the Chiefs because he's from Kansas and his stepfather played for the Chiefs, if he's going to do this the entire time, that just complicates things. And I would have liked a third for a guy who, if Sauce was a, quote, bad locker room fit for Aaron Glenn, what is this? I'm sure Aaron Glenn doesn't like this, does he?
No, I didn't know his stepfather played for Kansas City. That's interesting. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, that's part of why. I mean, schematically it made sense for the Chiefs too. They need a running back, but that was like an extra sweetener on it. Iowa State too, Midwest guy. Yeah. So
is that interesting? Tafter said I'm a Browns fan. All right,
I understand it less now.
Explain yourself. Brian goes, I do not understand the appeal of Kurt Benkert. Neither did 32 NFL teams.
He was a pretty good. I remember scouting him in Virginia. He was a decent prospect, and then he ruined all the goodwill.
He played in 1 year or 2 games for the Packers, right?
With the Falcons for a little bit, I remember.
Yeah. I know he was with Rodgers. I'll start with Quincy really quick. This is the most surprising player that did not get traded, I think. I mean, we talked about Lazard and Clemens if they can get anything, but I figured they'd at least get something for Quincy, right? The pedigree there. He's former All-Pro. Still a starting caliber linebacker right now. The report was that the Jets were looking for a fourth, which, they say greed is, greed's a sin. And I just, you weren't getting a fourth. I'll tell you that. You were not getting a fourth for Quincy Williams, a guy on an expiring deal who was pushing 30, who is going to need a new contract in the offseason. I don't think is playing particularly good football right now.
I guess they saw Draymond Jones go for a 5 that could be a 4 and thought maybe
unless Robert Saleh was going to do his old team a little bit of a favor and be like, I need this guy in the building, right? I don't think you were going to get a 4. If you could have got a 5th, hell, if you could have got a 6th, I'd consider taking it because I don't really think there's a world.
It could even be a Tyler Barron.
Yeah, it could be. But it also, Mike, it could be a Francisco Mauigoa, right?
Oh, not that. I mean, look, dude's okay, but come on.
That's funny. I still have Sauce Gardner tweet notifications turned on, and he just reposted or retweeted a tweet of a Colts reporter saying guys who aren't practicing, and then it was like Sauce Gardner took part in virtually all the individual reps, and Sauce is retweeting that. I don't know why. From practice? I don't know. But yeah, Quincy, I would be very surprised if there's a world where he's back next year. We've talked about it a lot, but pushing 30, very poor track record of signing, extending or giving big contracts to 30-year-old linebackers in this league. You just paid Jamien Sherwood $15 million a year. There is not a single team in the NFL, to my knowledge, that is paying multiple off-ball linebackers $10 million or more a year right now. So paying two guys, Quincy's probably looking for similar money to what Sherwood got. It's just a tough sell for me, especially for a guy who, again, he's pushing 30. His game is heavily reliant on athleticism, and he throws his body around like it's no one's business, and he's already been banged up this year. And while he was all pro in 2023, I thought he took a little bit of a step back last year. Was still very good, but I think he's picked up on some bad habits again, or at least reverted to old habits this year. And he's not been playing some great football this season when he's been healthy. He's been banged up too, but when he's been out there, I don't think he's been particularly great. And I'd be worried about regression kicking in really hard with him. So I think if you get anything for him,
and with Quinnen gone, there's no way
why would he want to be back, right? Like it felt so obvious that he's going to be gone, right? I'm surprised they kept him. I would have taken really anything for him, and I think they could have gotten something. Jermaine, if they got a second for him, would have been a real tough conversation for me to keep, for me to hang up that phone, right? That's a lot. I think that's well above his value at this stage. I love Jermaine Johnson. We've said it before. I think he's the type of player and person that the Jets need more of in this locker room. He is your defensive leader. And Brian Costello put out a really interesting question, Mike, and I actually want to ask you this. Who is the best player currently on the Jets defense right now that they traded Sauce and Quinnen? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think if you're basing it solely on this year,
Brandon Stephens.
I think it's Brandon Stephens based on this year. Now, I think Jermaine is the best player if he gets back to it.
Is Will McDonald like in the top 3 or 4?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God.
And I think he's a pass rush specialist. I think he's the a guy who plays 35-40% of snaps at best. But I think Jermaine, if he gets back to his pre-injury form, is that guy. He's not there yet, which is fair. He's his first year back from an Achilles. He's not rushing the passer nearly at the efficient rate that he was, not that he's ever been this amazing pass rusher. And there's other context to it. And I don't think it's going to be helped now that Quinnen is gone. But, I don't think he's back in his pre-injury form yet. So the fact that, if you were able to get a second for him, right, and he's entering the last year of his rookie deal next year, it's the 5th-year option of his rookie deal, I would have strongly considered that. But I think the Jets were asking for more. I think they were asking for a little bit more in a second, it sounds like, which, hey, man, all right. If you value him that much, and again, I think that goes back to the personality standpoint of, there's that little extra value that a guy like Jermaine Johnson's providing that maybe a Sauce Gardner didn't, right? That they're a little more hesitant to move on from Jermaine because of the intangible value that you can't really quantify in stats or on a spreadsheet that Jermaine Johnson provides. So, I'm happy that he's still here. The defense lost 2 great players. They can't afford to lose another really good player. And I hope he's a part of the solution in New York. And I love the message that he put out afterwards. The Jets straight up told him to his face, we're not trading you. And then proceeded to, I know people are going to be like, they didn't shop him. Like, whatever verbiage
you want. They didn't hang up the phone.
They not only did not hang up the phone, they had very extensive conversations about trading him, right? So to do that after you told him, hey, we're not trading you, which, by the way, Connor Hughes said on the live stream that the Jets also told Quinnen that they weren't trading him. So that's funny. But it's a business. Obviously, the guys get that at the end of the day. But
they told Sauce they probably weren't. They didn't even think they had to tell Sauce they weren't trading him.
Tell him that. But yeah, Jermaine, for him to put out that message and say, I want to be a part of the solution here. I love this team. I love this staff. I love this fan base, everything. That's the guy you want to keep here.
I don't like when they traded Sauce, though, because I've seen a lot of like Peter Schrager saying, like, really in the last 48 hours it picked up. I'm like, I don't like making huge franchise-altering decisions on the dime based on a 36, 48-hour period.
I don't think I think it was reported that, I believe it was Rosenblatt, said that the Colts called them last week about cornerback help. And not specifically Sauce, but they asked about Sauce. And the Jets told them no, basically. But they stayed in contact. The Colts continued to up their offer until it got to a point where the Jets couldn't say no. And that's what
that feels like. The Jim Irsay's daughter, Carly, getting involved.
Maybe.
I don't think Chris Ballard makes that move.
Maybe.
I think this is new ownership. Let's go for it.
Yeah. And we talked about her last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. She's doing a heck of a job there. But
slow runner 14.
Sure.
It's in Breece's best interest to do well. Maybe at the moment he prefers to be traded. Maybe they trade him in the offseason and they get a third for him at that time.
Well, you'd have to tag and trade him.
You have to tag him because he's free agent.
So yeah, let's do the Breece conversation. We said, you want anything to add to Jermaine or Quincy? Or
not really. And even then with Breece, my thoughts really aren't changed in that I want him here because I think he's really good. I don't love the running back room without him. I don't like having to invest some of these new picks into into a running back, especially in a weak running back class without a ton of great free agent options outside of Rico Dowdle and Brees himself.
That take's looking pretty good, Mike.
How's the Chuba take looking?
We don't have to talk about it. We say this every week. We don't have to mention that one.
So it hasn't necessarily big picture change, but the only way it could change is if for the next few months we just hear about him complaining and subtweeting. I'm like, all right, enough's enough. Like, we get it. You're miserable. The team sucks at a certain point. But if you can somehow smooth things over and maybe present him with a plan of this is how we need to win, you're in the plan, then yeah, I don't hate it. You may like a third right now, but again, how many third-round picks are better than Brees Hall?
Well, I think if they got a third, they trade him. I don't think
weren't they offered a third they offered a fourth from the Chiefs. That's what it was.
If they got a third, I think they traded him. A couple things from Brian. Brian first said, "Do we have enough draft assets to rebuild around a rookie quarterback?" I certainly hope so.
Yeah, this is not when they got Darnold and they had nothing. Like, they have an offensive line, they have a tight end, they have a running back, they have a receiver. Like, this is not barren.
Brian's asking about draft assets, and they got 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. They got 2 seconds this year. They sure as hell better have enough draft assets to build around that rookie quarterback. I don't know how many more they can get. But then he also said, tag or extend Brees to support the rookie quarterback. The tag is going to be a really interesting thing because I don't think they franchise tag him. That's worth about 14-ish million, which would put him as one of the highest paid running backs in the NFL. I don't think they do. Unless he has an unbelievable close of the season where he's putting up 150 yards a game, right? Like, 150 scrimmage yards a game. I don't think he's going to play himself into that conversation. The transition tag's a really interesting one because we talked about this. We did bring this up on stream. It's rare. You don't see this used very often in the NFL. The last one, I believe, was Kyle Duggar, right? Didn't we clarify the last one was Kyle Duggar? You tag him. I think it's worth $11 million. Teams have an opportunity to negotiate with Brees, but you have an opportunity to match any of those offers. Is essentially how it works. And it's less than the franchise tag. I think the transition tag makes so much sense here, and it's rare in the NFL to see that. But there's smoke around it. Other teams are talking about it, or other analysts are talking about it. And I think if you're in a situation, especially where Brees is not particularly happy, which obviously you don't want to hold him hostage here. Hopefully you can smooth over the situation a little bit, but maybe you do transition tag him. And that's a way of keeping him in New York for another year. And hopefully you can smooth out the relationship a little bit. I know you don't want like a Hassan Reddick thing where you're bringing a guy in and you're like, yeah, well, we'll figure it out once he's in the building, and then you just don't.
Then he never shows up. But again, that never happened before in NFL history ever.
I don't think Bruce would do that. I don't think he's going to go Le'Veon Bell.
By the way, he has not been that good with the Bucs this year. So
shocker, right?
Basically, he started off okay, and then he ruined his career. So
yeah. I think that, the Jets not trading Brees, you definitely don't want to let him walk for nothing in the offseason, right? Like, I think somebody said something about like, is Brees going to walk for nothing in the offseason? Yeah. So Jeff said, does Brees all just walk and the Jets get nothing for him? I mean, you certainly don't want that.
Armand is amazing too. I don't see him signing a new deal with the Jets. They should have taken the Chiefs offer. I mean, if they pay him enough, he will.
Oh, Armand is amazing. Yeah, they should have taken the Chiefs offer for Brees. Yep. You could argue that. You could, like, if they took a fourth for Brees, I wouldn't have been out here saying it's a bad trade. I would not have been saying that. However, now that you didn't take that offer, you better keep him. You better keep him next year. He better be the RB1 next year that you are, helping improve your offense around your rookie quarterback. Like that should be the plan. Because, people asking about comp picks, I don't think they're getting comp picks. They have top 3 in cap space or whatever. They just cleared even more cap space, for 2026 and 2027 with these trades. They're going to be spending a lot, and they're going to be spending more than they are losing. So they're not going to have the comp picks most likely. So yeah, you got to find a way to keep Brees now that you didn't trade him. That's why I don't think the Quincy thing, like, if you could have gotten anything for him, because I don't think there's a world where he comes back. But Brees, you got to find a way to keep it, and hopefully they can smooth over this relationship.
As Austrian Jet fan with 10 more memberships.
What a guy.
What a guy.
You are the man. Thank you so much.
Including our buddy Connor Long, who got a membership as part of this little.
There you go. Shout out Connor.
I got 3 comments I want to go to in descending order of irritation to me. Tafster Gardner is average. Get out of here.
You're wrong.
There's no way.
This Browns fan. Get this Browns fan out of our stream.
Slow Runner 14. Muji made a great deal. He is overpaid and not a shutdown corner. Are you out of your mind? When he blow coverages in zone. Are you kidding me?
No. And he also was not missing time.
He might be the best zone coverage corner in the league.
Yeah, he's going to a great scheme for
low coverages in zone.
They run a ton of zone. He's probably referring to like one play. I think it was one play like early in the year where there was some commission.
Solid was all zone.
Yeah, no, he's an outstanding zone corner, and I would say, look, if you want to argue he's not a shutdown corner because there are no shutdown corners in the NFL today, sure.
If he's not, no one is.
Right. If there are no like he is as close to a shutdown cover corner as you are going to find in the NFL. You could debate overrated based on value, based on, again, the turnovers and stuff like that. But as far as pure coverage goes, no, he's not overrated. Watch football, watch tape. You're not going to find any better cover corners in the NFL. Or if you find any, it's like one. It's like Pat Surtain, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd say that.
And then I've seen this a lot, so I need to address it because it irritates me.
Sure.
It's not this guy's fault, but we were 1-7 with him on the team. We don't like doing quarterback wins. Now we're doing cornerback wins. Like, that doesn't mean just get rid of everybody, irrespective of talent, does it?
What is the full comedy said? We were 1-7 with him on the team. We can use the extra picks to really develop this offense. Not sure why the host doesn't like this. I mean, I don't know, other than him taking a shot at you. I don't actually, you know what? I agree with that part too. Take a shot at Mike. No, I don't necessarily disagree.
Okay, right guy. I didn't even get the decency of being named on the last show. They were like, left guy has a bad take. I'm like, I can't even get a name.
I'm not right. I'm Justin.
I'm just left guy.
You're just left guy. No, I don't think that's entirely off base what he's saying there. Like, he's not. I don't think Kevin is saying that, oh yeah, you're 1-7. You might as well trade everybody. But I think it's like, hey, you're not. As we said before, they're not winning like this year, right? And it's better to allocate. We're not going to get into the whole thing again, like allocating the assets towards the offense and stuff. But I don't think what Kevin is saying there is, oh, you might as well just trade everybody because you suck anyway. I don't think that's the point that's being made. Also, shout out to Washington Jet fan. Has been a member for 3 months. Hell yeah, man. Let's go. Awesome. Love to see it.
You are the man.
Absolutely.
Let's get into, before, we're not going to do a ton on the Browns preview just because time, and it's a 2-6 team and a 1-7 team.
I forgot they got a game this Sunday
against this. And what a game it is, Justin.
Oh yeah. Well, you saw it's funny. The line was 2.5 in favor of the Jets. They were actually going to be favored for the first time this year, and then the trades happened. Now it's flipped, and I believe the Jets are 2-point underdogs.
Oh, for God's sakes! So the Jets acquired 3 players. One of them might have an impact on this team. 2 of them will not. Let's get into the 2 of them that will not first, and then go deeper into the one who might. Jasir Taylor from Monmouth County, New Jersey.
Don't disrespect Jasir Taylor like
that. Total depth backup signing because they lost a cornerback. Nothing wrong with that. Mozzie Smith. Now, for those of you that don't know, we work really closely with a guy named Jerry Trotto. We've been on the show, friend of the show.
Great guy.
He runs the Landry House, which is our Dallas Cowboys site. If you ask him about Mozzie Smith, after your face gets soaked from the angry spit that flies in your face whenever he is asked about
Jerry gets
Mozzie Smith.
When does Jerry get angry?
He despises Mozzie Smith.
Oh my God. He's a very mild-mannered guy.
Which is even more surprising. So, despises Mozzie Smith. He is a guy who first-round pick, which again, as I've always said, anytime you trade a guy and you hear former first-round pick, that means he's bad. He basically didn't play. He didn't play a ton his first year, kind of in and out of the lineup. Second year starts all 17 games. Atrocious in every facet. So atrocious, especially at stopping the run, that apparently Jerry Jones said we need to trade Micah Parsons and then trade for Quinnen Williams to allocate that problem.
Trade for Kenny Clark.
And Kenny Clark, who's not been great this year, but still. The problem with Mozzie, he's 340 pounds, and he's a terrible run defender.
Is he that? Oh, my God.
6'4", 340.
I see 6'3", 337.
And he's a very good athlete for his size. And yet he's this bad. Why is he this bad? Well, 2 problems. Number 1, he can't disengage from blocks. If you get your hands on him, which happens a lot as a defensive lineman.
It's tough as a D tackle if you can't.
Yeah, you're done. And second, again, this is a Jerry special in terms of his analysis.
Okay.
He just has no dog in him as a defensive tackle, which
we
talk about. This whole show has been Aaron Glenn's kind of player. Aaron Glenn needs to place an unnatural emphasis on dog. Jarvis Brownlee is like 200% dog.
Jarvis Brownlee is all dog.
He has a 2-to-1 dog to weight ratio going on right now.
So what? He's got about 360 dog in him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what kind of unit of measurement is that? But Mozzie Smith, on the other hand, has barely any for a guy that big. So I think this may just be Dallas saying, we're going to cut him anyway. If you want to try to fix him, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the Jets are at. If they make him even a rotational player, Aaron Glenn is the best defensive teacher And Eric Washington is the best defensive teacher we've seen in a while.
Yeah. First, I'll start with Jasir Taylor first, because let's not disrespect the legend that is Jasir Taylor. Jets trade a 2028 a conditional 7th, which I genuinely don't think you can get a more or a less valuable asset. That is, I don't think you could trade
a 7th round pick 3 years from now.
Yeah, I don't think you could trade 2029 picks. So a conditional 7th in 2028 might be as low as a value as you're going to get in this league.
Literally, we're going to cut him. Like
right.
we nominally need to give you something to make it a trade.
Outside of like trading Tyler Barron, I don't think.
Jesus, or Mozzie Smith,
or Mozzie Smith. That's unnecessary.
They may play together at the end of this year. Think about that.
Rotation.
Mozzie, Tyler Barron, Michael Clemens snaps are all coming.
And Braden McGregor. Don't forget about
Braden McGregor.
Let's kick Clemens inside, actually, and run out a rotation. Like, I want to see on the field at one time Braden McGregor, Michael Clemens, a defensive tackle next to Mozzie Smith, and
Tyler Barron.
That's what I want.
If they play an average offensive line, will that unit get a pressure in the entire game?
If they play Ohio State, do they get a pressure?
I don't know.
They got
I will say this, yes, because I always hate when people go like,
I'm joking
could Ohio State beat the Jets? The Jets would beat Ohio State by 60 points.
I'm joking.
They would beat the crap out of them.
But Jasir Taylor, basically a nickel corner from what I've seen. 5'10", like $180, something like that. He's 5'10", $185. He has pretty much exclusively been a backup slot and core special teamer. He's actually played a ton of special team snaps with the Chargers. The issue, and again, I haven't watched a ton of Jasir Taylor tape. I'm really just looking at numbers here and stats. He's missed a lot of tackles. That has been a frequent issue throughout his career. He has missed 19.5% of tackle attempts in his career. A lot of them have come on special teams too that he's missed. And it's tough. It's tough as a special teams player if you're missing a lot of tackles there. He's graded out very poorly as a special teams player. Even though he's played a lot, pretty sure the Chargers have one of the worst special teams units in the NFL as well. So that is not particularly great. But yeah, he's last year was rookie deal, basically just a backup slot that, you're going to need to replace some of those special team snaps from Azaria Thomas because he's probably starting now. So sure, man, whatever. They did bring back, I don't know if you saw this, they brought back Jarius Monroe. Jarius Monroe is back.
And one of my draft guys that like Dean Clark is on the active roster.
The Jets also liked him. They brought him in for a top 30. They were all over Dean Clark. So he's on the active roster now. They brought back Jarius Monroe on the practice squad. Happy that he's back with the team because they had waived him with an injury settlement after he got hurt in the final preseason game. But anyway, that's the Jasir Taylor talk. I don't think there's too much to break down there. Mozzie Smith is interesting because, obviously former first-round pick, which, as you said, Mike, when that's what you're leading with, that's not always the best.
Remember when they got Jamin Davis? Same sort of thing.
Yeah, former first-round pick. Fun, could be fun to fix. Doesn't work. It's broken, but could be fun to fix.
Mozzie Smith never like.
It's funny.
But at least at Michigan, you saw there was power there. There were just none in the NFL. It's like, what happened?
Yeah, it's funny when you look at all the pre-draft scouting reports on Mozzie Smith. It's all unrefined pass rusher. He had a half a sack in his entire college career. By the way, half a sack. He was second on Michigan's team in pressures his final year in college. So it's not like it was no pass rush production, but half a sack. But the whole tape was, he's such a great athlete and he's such a big body that he can be a space eater. He can be a good run stuffer immediately in the NFL. And boy, is he not. He's
like Will McDonald levels of bad. That's what's shocking.
His PFF run defense grades over the last 3 years, 34.9, 35.9, 37.8. So, Mike, he's improving.
He's improving.
That's something. He's improving.
And he's barely playing this year, too. What's Will McDonald, like 40-something?
I don't know if he's that high. Is he that high?
It would be so funny if he is.
Let's see. Will McDonald's run defense grade this year? 44.9. Big movement. He had 39.5 last year.
Which was still better than Mozzie Smith.
And his tackling is better. He missed 34% of his tackles last year, only missed 28 this year.
Improvement.
So the arrow's trending up. Arrow's pointing up with Mozzie Smith, but no, he's been an unplayable player in the NFL. Maybe the Jets can get something out of him. There's athletic potential there, clearly, and I think they kind of just saw it as we have an open roster spot since we're trading Quinnen. Dallas is not playing this guy. They were basically trying to get rid of him anyway. Let's take a shot, right? Let's see what we can get. See if there's something here in Mozzie Smith. The real guy that we want to talk about, Mike, is Adonai Mitchell.
Adonai Mitchell.
I think Adonai Mitchell has a chance to not only play like a role this year, like a significant role this year, but he might be wide receiver 3 next year. I don't think he's going to be wide receiver 2. I think you probably got to bring in somebody else there, whether it's in draft or free agency. But He has every opportunity to prove that he can be the guy. And I think, the guy that can be that wide receiver 3. And I think in the limited sample size that he has played, he's played well. I think the numbers look good. I haven't watched obviously a ton of
other than the separation. Are the numbers that good?
Well, the separation numbers are what I'm referring to mostly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Arian Smith has good separation numbers, and you hate him.
Yeah, but they're not throwing him the ball, and I also didn't like him as a prospect.
Well, they're going to throw him the ball too.
Adonai Mitchell was a second-round pick who his rookie year actually put up pretty good production on limited sample size. Like he wasn't running a ton of routes, but he was still putting up some pretty good numbers. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's like something like 30-something career catches, whatever it's been. But the separation numbers have been good. He dealt with probably the worst or the most inaccurate quarterback in the NFL last year in Anthony Richardson. And I think that, there's the Anthony Richardson tax there. Yeah, he has 32 career catches, 464 yards, should be 1 touchdown, but 0 touchdowns in his career. And this is a guy who was taken 52nd overall 18 months ago, right? So there's something there. And I don't think that was like considered a reach at the time. And I don't think that, I didn't dislike him as a prospect at all. And like I said on the show yesterday, I think he's a better Arian Smith. I think he is somebody who is much better at tracking the football down the field. Should be and has been in his college career at least, was better contested catches. I believe he's 0 for 5 in his career in the NFL in contested catches, and he had some drop issues too last year. So that kind of regressed from his time at Texas, but also former Georgia receiver. Georgia, put out a lot of really good receivers into the NFL.
I think him and Arian Smith were teammates at Georgia.
They might have been. At one point. I like this pickup a lot, and I think this is more than just like a random throw-in. Like if the Jets got Adonai Mitchell, say they didn't trade Sauce Gardner and they got him, like I would be very excited just about that pickup. So the fact that he's a throw-in for a deal where you already got 2 first-round picks, I'm excited. I'm excited about Adonai Mitchell.
What would you be more excited about though? If they just got 2 firsts and a second, or 2 firsts and Adonai Mitchell?
Say that again.
2 first. If they didn't get Adonai Mitchell and they just got a second-round pick.
They just got yeah, I would be happy about a second-round pick for sure.
So he's a depreciating asset in that regard.
Yeah, but you're guys like that are always going to be, because he's got 1.5 years less of team control. So he's already a year and a half into his rookie deal, and it's not like he's actually like exactly lit it up. Like he was getting DNPs.
What if they got a third?
Probably still a third. Yeah, like I think it would have been like a fifth is the equivalent of what Mitchell's probably worth at this stage. But like as a flyer,
a year and a half after being a second, that's a pretty big fall.
Yes. He's not had a good start to his NFL career. That's why he was traded. Like he was getting DNPs in Indianapolis because he got put in the doghouse. I'm not saying this is like an amazing asset, but as a flyer, I'm happy about it, especially in a position of need.
Like I like what he could be. I liked him coming out in the draft. I like how fast he is for how big he is. I mean, he's over 200 pounds and he has like a 4.3 40. Mm-hmm. Like that's 4.34. Not to be like an RAS chart guy, but his RAS is tremendous. The problem I have is that Mitchell, he couldn't break through in Indianapolis, and he now needs to break through on a team that doesn't have a great passing offense, and he's competing with Mechie and Arian Smith, and Adonai Mitchell. I know Mitchell might get top dog priority because of his status. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, practically, I don't know how much separation there's going to be in games to start out between those 3. So he may have to compete for targets. And then you got Wilson and Mason Taylor, who were the top 2 passing targets anyway. So I'm a little worried that he's not going to get the volume that that Jets fans think he's going to get, and the Jets may want to see from him early on.
Sure. I'm not expecting in
8 games, they have 8 games left, or 9 games left.
Yeah.
I think in the rest of the year, he may have like 20 catches.
Okay.
And because of that, like that's decent, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for me to really make him a piece of the long-term furniture. I think that
you have 2 more years in his deal after this. You don't have to make.
Yeah, I think he's so much of an unknown right now that there's a lot. He's got so much proving to do.
Of course. That
I don't feel super confident in him being the sweetener in a Sauce Gardner deal. Like if they got him in a separate deal, like a smaller stakes deal, I don't know. But like there are reports, I sent that to you too, though, where Darren Muji, originally he was not in the deal. And then Muji insisted, he said, I specifically want Mitchell in the deal. So he really likes this guy.
Look, if the Jets traded Sauce just for 2 first-round picks, it'd be this, like we would be having the exact same conversation about
yeah, totally. I'm just saying though, like I think
it's not like this put it over.
I think Jets fans and some people who are analyzing the trade are kind of putting the cart before the horse with Adonai Mitchell a little bit, because I think they're assuming that he's just going to take off now because he's going to have a bigger target share in New York.
I'm not assuming that.
I mean, the optimistic ones are, and I really hope he works out because he's a really cool player style-wise, and
yes,
I don't think, even if he works out, I think that should preclude him from signing a wide receiver too, or using one of those top picks on a wide receiver. One of the top 50 picks on a receiver in the upcoming draft. But there's a lot he has to show me before the image of a guy who was supposed to be a part of Indianapolis's future on the offensive end, and then immediately torched all his goodwill this year. But before I could really say he's going to be like a long-term piece. Like, again, Mitchell runs a 4.34 and he's 6 feet tall. Like, he has it, not to say he's Mozzie Smith, but like he has every physical tool you'd want to be a good receiver. And I think in the right offense, even in a Tanner Engstrand offense, he could do it. I just don't know if for the rest of the 2025 season, I'm going to see enough big Adonai Mitchell plays where I really get excited about him for 2026 and beyond.
I don't think you're going to see that with any receivers on the roster outside of Garrett Wilson, but that's not the point. Like, you're taking stabs with guys like Adonai Mitchell, like a John Mechie, who you're bringing in as well, who, he's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. So you have to make a decision on him a little sooner than you do Adonai Mitchell. But I don't think I'm expecting the Jets to see, 500 yards from him over the final 8 games of the year. But look, A.D. Mitchell, he was putting up some good numbers early in the year through week 4. Shout out Michael Nania for these numbers. He was targeted 12 times, caught 7 passes for 137 yards on just 51 routes run.
And then what happened?
2.69 yards per route run. Then he got benched because of a blunder, a stupid mistake. But that's not something that I'm taking into account really with a scouting report when I'm looking at how this guy can project to the Jets. He got put in the doghouse because they have some other talent that they could play there, and because he made a really stupid mistake and nearly cost them a game. Like that's why he got put in the doghouse. That's not a translatable thing that I think is going to impact. Like, I don't think it's a thing on the scouting report where it's like, oh yeah, consistently.
Occasionally he drops touchdowns
right
at the 1 yard line.
That's not something that I am taking into account when I'm looking at what he can do with the Jets, right? If he does it again with the Jets, now we're having a conversation. We're like, all right, bud, you got to chill. Like, you got to stop doing this. Now this is an actual problem. But I don't think that's a mistake that is going to necessarily be repeated. So if the reason he got benched, the reason he got put in the doghouse, is not something that I think will impact him with the Jets. And he was putting up some good numbers before he got hurt or before he got put in the doghouse. And I thought he had some good numbers in limited production or limited sample size last year. Like, I think there's something there. I think the Colts just, it was time for a change of scenery with him, and they had other players there. Like somebody mentioned it in chat where they like Armand is amazing. Said, Colts have Jonathan Taylor, they have Michael Pittman, they have Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren. He's kind of lost in the shuffle, right? And then that blunder, that mistake, that egregious, terrible, stupid mistake, put him in the doghouse.
Like, I'm not going to say that's going to define. Look, that put him in the doghouse too, but I'm not saying that's going to define his entire Jets tenure. But like, I think he got passed up by other options. Like, you don't draft a guy number 52 overall to be your wide receiver 5.
No, but I think
they had big plans for him.
But I think there's something there. I'm not saying he's a star.
Oh, I think there's something there too. I think Jets fans, they need a wide receiver too.
Yeah,
terribly. So I think because any receiver let's be honest too. Like, John Mechie is a complete flyer who might be wide receiver 4.
I'm more.
But we're holding on to that Arian Smith chart kind of thing. Like, I just think. Well, for where Mitchell needs to get to, for him to be a guy where I'm like, man, the Jets made a pretty. Not only do they get picks, but they got a guy who going forward is going to be a target for whoever this quarterback is and be pretty good at it. I just think the hill they need to climb to get there is a little bit longer. So that's why I don't view him as big of a get in this trade as maybe some other fans do. Like, I think it's definitely worth taking. I'm not opposed to playing him. I want him to play as much as possible.
Yeah.
I want him to be wide receiver 2 for the rest of the year. But I think he's farther away from being a long-term Jet piece than some fans think he is. Like slow runner here. Look at his tape. He smoked sauce last year. Like,
there's that.
Who do you think Adonai Mitchell is?
There is that. He did smoke one play.
Yeah, and then he got buried.
I haven't seen Jets fans being like, he's definitely.
Is Mitchell better than Lazard? Yes, he's better than Alan Lazard, and I want him to play. I have some reservations.
That's what I was about to say. I think of all the young wide receiver flyers the Jets have on their roster right now, I'm much higher on Adonai Mitchell than any of the other guys.
Yes, I am too.
Don't believe until somebody shows me otherwise. I don't believe Arian Smith is an NFL caliber wide receiver right now. Tyler Johnson, I think, has shown flashes, right? But I think at best he's a wide receiver 4, probably moving forward. John Mechie, I have no idea if he's, a capable NFL receiver. He's barely played in his career, and he's dealt with some unfortunate circumstances. And, it's been some years since we've seen him like at Alabama. Like Alabama, I loved him as a prospect. Then he tore his ACL and got cancer. Like, I don't know what he is at this stage. I like Adonai Mitchell more than all the other guys. And I think right now you can make a very strong case. In fact, I would make the case that he's the second best player in that Jets wide receiver room. That's an extremely low bar. I know that.
Talent-wise, I think he is.
Yeah, I know that's an extremely low bar. But, man, I'm not saying the guy's going to be the long-term wide receiver, too. I'm just saying that I think there's a world where, I think there's a very real world where he's wide receiver 3 next year. And as that being a sweetener in a deal, kind of a throw-in, so to speak, I'm optimistic about that, and I'm bullish on his potential.
Like, I guess, was he a throw-in, or was he, is Moochie looking at Mitchell as, hey, why not? Let's take a shot on him. Not just a complete flyer, but, yeah, that seems like a pretty good asset. Or was he like, no, I really specifically want Adonai Mitchell as a long-term part of this offense? Because if it's the latter,
I don't think,
and you really wanted him, then then I don't know.
I don't think the Jets traded for Adonai Mitchell with the belief that he will be a long-term part of their offense. I believe they traded for him with the hope that he could be. Those are two different things. They didn't trade, like the Colts traded for Sauce Gardner knowing he's going to be a long-term part of the defense. The Jets did not trade for Adonai Mitchell thinking, oh yeah, we definitely got our guy. It's a flyer. It's a young flyer for a team that's 1-7 that has virtually nothing in their wide receiver room. That's what it is. It doesn't have to be anything more than that, but I think he's more of a worthy flyer than some of the other guys that they have in that room. And I think he's shown more potential than some of the other guys in that room. Brian asked, do people call him AD so they don't have to take his name in vain, or can they just not spell it? I think it's probably similar to like Azaria Thomas. People say AZ Thomas.
Yeah, AZ and AD.
Get AZ and AD. Maybe it's so they don't want to.
They're going to play each other in practice a lot, AZ and AD.
AZ versus AD. Yeah. There you go.
No, they didn't in college. I thought they played in college, but they didn't.
No.
Let's go and very briefly talk.
Browns. Let's do it.
The Spiro Deed Spectacular of the Week. Which I will say, he's got 2 great games the last 2 weeks with those 2 Bengals games.
And terrible commentary. It sucks.
I think I gotta get.
I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's bad, but it's like
he does a good job of selling games when they get good.
Adam Archuleta, right? That's the color guy.
Yeah, I think Deeds is a lot better than Archuleta is the thing.
Yeah, Archuleta doesn't really offer much.
So Deeds, I always remember though. He was on that call when they blitzed 8 on the Hail Mary.
Yes,
in the tanking year.
Yep, Greg Williams,
Henry Ruggs. Was it Ruggs who caught that?
Yeah. Yes,
I think that might have been his last game before,
I don't know.
Or no, it wasn't. It was like his first game. Never mind. But anyway.
But let's talk about the Malachi Corley revenge game.
Yes, the Malachi Corley revenge game. He actually had a couple carries with them.
I know.
The Cleveland Browns.
I think he might have been their leading rusher.
He was.
One of those weeks. That is insane.
I am predicting, for the first time this year on this show, a Jets victory. It's going to be low scoring. I'm saying 17. I'm going to say 17-14 or 20-17, something like that. Here's why.
Okay.
It's going to be terrible weather. So the Jets are going to run the ball a lot. They're probably not throwing the ball a lot. It's going to be cold, not cold, but like windy, rainy. Not the best day for Justin Fields. I think that plays into their advantage because as dominant as Myles Garrett is, 5 sacks, Membu might get a welcome to the NFL.
Dude,
with Myles
how
Garrett.
Hilarious was he got 5 sacks and didn't win Defensive Player of the Week?
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Who won that? It was somebody ridiculous.
Somebody nondescript. I forget. 5 sacks and didn't get Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, that's insane. Myles Garrett, it might give Membu a welcome to the NFL. I hope he doesn't, but
yeah,
his ability, he's a good run defender, but his ability is neutralized when you're not dropping back as much.
I'm pretty sure he already did it to Will Campbell.
He did to Will Campbell, yeah. Now, so there's that right there. Like, Cleveland's a really good secondary and really tough to throw on, unless you're Drake May, apparently. And I think that the Jets have a stylistic advantage there, so that's number one. And number two, like Dylan Gabriel, in adverse weather, I just don't trust. Even though Fannon's really good against linebackers that can't cover, and Njoku's still pretty good, Quinshon Judkins, I think, against a Quinn-less defensive line, may have a very good game. That may decide the game. Who's better, Quinshon Judkins or Breece Hall? Mm-hmm. Even though I don't trust Justin Fields as a passer, like Gabriel's very accurate, but if you need him to like make a play with his arm right now, he just can't do it.
Not right now. He's never been able to do it.
He just straight up can't do it.
Yeah.
Whoever is leading at the end of the first half is going to win this game because this is going to be ground and pound, get a score, and maintain the lead. I don't see Dylan Gabriel coming back on the road with his arm, and I don't see Justin Fields putting up an aerial circus like in adverse weather conditions against a very tough Browns defense. So it's going to be low scoring. It'll be a rock fight, and some Jets fans might not like that they win the rock fight because it puts them in worse position to get a quarterback behind a team in Cleveland who I think may draft a quarterback. But I think that's probably what's going to happen. As Justin mutes his mic.
Sorry, I was plugging in my laptop. I didn't want to hear the boop.
There we go, yeah.
It's also it's not just a Malachi Corley revenge game. It's also a Brendan Bates revenge game.
Oh, yes. A slow runner says Myles Garrett is going to kill Justin Fields, all caps. Jets better double carrot and encourage Fields to take a 1-yard step and throw a 5-yard pass.
I know. I agree with why. I hopefully don't agree with the kill part.
That he kills him on the field. Yeah,
I hope that doesn't happen. But the priority definitely needs to be getting the ball out quickly against this defense, which is easier said than done because you
hold the ball against them, you're dead.
They have a lot of really good players in the defense, not just up front. I know Carson Schlesinger is probably going to miss this game. He got hurt. I think Tyson Campbell is a little banged up as well, but they still got Denzel Ward. They still got some really, really good players in that defense. Like this is going to be an extremely difficult matchup.
Denzel Ward, Garrett Wilson, another Ohio State throwback.
Yeah, dude. OSU's just got and players everywhere, man. It's ridiculous. But I'm not going to pick a Jets win. I can't.
You're going to pick the Browns. Dylan Gabriel wins on the road, you say.
I'll say this. Dylan Gabriel is one of the few quarterbacks right now that I think is definitively worse than Justin Fields. I think Dylan Gabriel might be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Cam Ward's probably in that conversation too, just given how he's played. But I would almost rather
they're letting him get smoked every single.
Yeah, no, it's not his fault necessarily. I mean, he. It
felt like Lawrence the Urban Meyer year. I'm like, can you please give this guy anything, please? Like
the one thing that I'm gonna say, and we've said it so many times this year, the Jets have faced a lot of bad offensive lines, and I know the Browns they're a little healthier.
The Browns are the worst of them.
The Browns they're a little healthier. They're better than they've been. But man, I mean, goodness gracious, is this O-line?
I think they have like 4 of the 6 worst tackles or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think Cam Robinson's been banged up. I think Jack Conklin's been banged up.
DeJuan Jones is out.
DeJuan Jones is out, but they were starting KT Leviston for a while. I don't think he's starting this week. So that's good. That's a plus for them. But their O-line stinks, dude.
Will McDonald, if you can't get a sack in this game.
Yeah, that's what
I don't know what to say.
So much. They've played the Bengals. They've played the Dolphins. They've played the worst offensive lines in the league, and they still can't really consistently.
The Cowboys with a bunch of backups. The Bucs with a bunch of backups.
The Bucs were guys off the street. Literally guys off the street. The Bucs were starting, and the Jets couldn't capitalize. So I'm going to say it again. You got to get pressure. And I know you just traded Quinnen. Not like Quinnen's having like an unbelievable pass rush season because he really wasn't. But you have to find ways to create pressure. Jermaine, you had a couple of weeks now to get even healthier. I want to see a sack this week. Will McDonald, please get pressures. Please do something. Like
Jermaine's the blendside guy too. I just realized this week.
Yeah, because Gabriel, the lefty. That is very. So he'll be going against.
He'll be going against lefty resurgence now with him and Penix
and Tua. You got 3 of them. 3 of them in the league.
3 of them. There wasn't any in the league for a while. Now there's 3 starters.
That's true. There are 3 lefty starters in the league right now, that's kind of wild. I don't know if are there any college guys that are like.
That are lefty?
Not that are like prominent players. Not that
I think so.
No, not that I can think of. So it might be a brief resurgence, and even briefer if Penix and Gabriel continue.
Who's the best of them? Tua right now? I mean,
not even close. It's easily Tua. It's absolutely Tua.
Penix looked okay against Patriots, though.
Yeah, I'm still iffy on him.
I think Drake London helps, and Bijan helps a lot.
Absolutely. And Gabriel's not great, but yeah, the Jets need to create pressure if they're going to win this game. The goal for Cleveland is going to be to get the ball out as quick as possible, which has been the goal for them for most of the year. Which is why
play caller, by the way, Stefanski's not calling plays anymore. Tommy Reese is
former Notre Dame quarterback. I remember him at Notre Dame.
I remember Tommy Reese.
Absolutely, I remember him at Notre Dame.
Quarterback, yeah.
Wow, Gabriel's completion percentage is under 60%. That's actually kind of crazy.
I think New England, he was just had no business doing anything. I think that knocked it down a little bit.
I looked because I figured they were getting the ball out quick, and he was No, New England was 60%. He had a couple of Pittsburgh and Miami was brutal.
Oh, Pittsburgh, yeah. I've never seen yards per attempt that low.
Well, Pittsburgh, they asked him to throw 52 times. So
52 for 220 yards.
2 of his 4 starts, he's had a yards per attempt of 4.5 or lower.
In terms of QBR, by the way, the Steelers game was his best game.
Oh, God.
Yeah, 20. It was 30. 29 in the Vikings game in London. 23 against the Dolphins when they won, which I think, I don't know, that seems low.
Dude, and by the way, so he had 52.
And then 15 against the Patriots.
He had 52 attempts. He was also sacked 6 times. They asked him to drop back almost 60 times in that game. That is, oh, buddy. For Dylan Gabriel, that's crazy.
That's my fear with Dante Moore, because him and Bo Nix came out of that offense. I'm like, that offense is just so not real football.
Yeah, well, Justin Herbert is doing pretty good.
That was a different offense.
I know. But there was still a criticism. It was like, oh, Oregon's not maximizing.
That was just a shit offense. This one is just like a weird, like non-NFL principles one.
That was Mario Cristobal, right? Wasn't that head coach?
Marcus Arroyo was the OC back then.
Right, but Cristobal was head coach.
Terrible.
Was Cristobal head coach then?
Cristobal's the head coach. Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, that's if the Jets are to win, they got to do that. And Justin Fields needs to not shrink into a pumpkin. Like, he doesn't need to do what he did last week or do what he did against the Steelers, but he needs to not play like he's afraid to throw the ball, because he will, as Slow Runner said, get killed by Myles Garrett if he's doing that. If Justin Fields is holding on to the ball for 4 seconds every drop back, he's going to get murdered. Like, and Armand Membu is going to let up like 4 sacks in this game if Justin Fields is holding on to the ball forever. So they have to emphasize getting the ball out quickly. I don't care if that means you're putting the ball in harm's way more, but you just have to get the ball out quickly. It'll be nice to probably have Garrett Wilson back. He's returned to practice, I believe, this week or today. I think they'll have him on Sunday. But
this could be a great Mason Taylor game with no Schlesinger in there. Schlesinger, geez, yeah.
You were speaking to me because I'm starting him in fantasy this week because Jake Ferguson's on a bye. So give me all the Mason Taylor touches, please. I would love to see Mason Taylor have a breakout week and catch his second. He caught his first career touchdown last week. Let's get another one. But I will predict. I'm going to go similar scoring. No, I won't. I'll say 24 for the Browns. This defense, I'm not.
24, Dylan Gabriel in the rain?
24. Oh, yeah, it is supposed to rain, huh?
Yeah.
21.
Oh, come on.
20. No, 20.
I mean, how much further can I knock you down?
20-10 final score. Browns win. Jets' only touchdown comes on. Maybe they get a pick 6. What if they get a pick 6? How crazy would that be if they got their
Azaria pick 6?
Azaria picks. They don't even really. No, you know what? Jarvis Brownlee pick 6. That's it. That's my prediction.
He's the only guy that can force turnovers.
Jarvis Brownlee pick 6. That's their only offensive touchdown. I think the offense has a major letdown or major come down game because as we just saw this past week, brother, is that Bengals defense terrible? Huh. Holy shit, is it bad? Oh my God.
Did you see how many yards they gave up to the Bears?
No, I watched with my eyes.
I think it was almost 600.
Oh. You want to know what was actually really funny about that game too? That was the first career 400-yard passing game of Joe Flacco's career.
Huh.
How wild is that?
Unk still got it.
Speaking of Unk still got it, happy birthday, Nick Folk.
576 yards, 283 rushing yards.
Insane. Armand saying Browns win 21-13. Very close to what I said. I think that's reasonable. We'll see, man. Brian says
Justin's only predicted 1 win on the show, and it was
I think it was Miami, right?
It was the Dolphins, and they lost that.
Lost that one. So I've learned my lesson. Brian said Quinnen's gone. Jets out of the bye. Hard to see a defensive clinic on the way. That's one thing we actually didn't get to talk about. We don't have time really now, but the Jets have historically, in recent years, been horrific coming out of bye weeks.
Well, you'd hope Aaron Glenn.
Every year. I'm pretty sure the only game in recent years that they've won coming out of bye was the Tommy DeVito Giants game. And that was like, you can't win that.
Almost shouldn't have counted.
And they went over. It shouldn't have counted. Like, that doesn't count. I don't count that as a win. They can't lay an egg here. And you got, like, if the Jets come out and they beat the Browns, I know people will be like, oh, the tank, whatever. Like, you come out of the bye. Not only do you get a win, but you're also coming out of a week where you just traded away 2 of your franchise cornerstones. If you can get up and get the players up to win that game, to get motivated enough to win, I'll feel very, like, much better about the direction of this franchise and the direction of this regime coming out of that week than I have at any point this season.
Especially because they're going to get crushed because they got the Patriots on a short week after this in prime time.
Oh, God. Dude, that's too huge.
That's going to be tough.
That's 2 huge games there, like, where it's like the old regimes would lay an egg here. Show that you're different. Show that you don't lay an egg. You don't have to win both. Hell, you don't have to win either as long as you're not laying an egg, as long as you don't look like complete dog shit. Look, if they lose because Azaria Thomas gets beat deep, all right, man, listen. Okay, fine, whatever. They lose because Tony Adams gets smoked. Sure, man. They lose because Justin Fields throws 3 picks. All right. Just be competitive. Show that you can fight. That's all I'm asking.
And with that, we're going to call time on this edition of the Jet Press podcast. The first Wednesday show without Sauce Gardner and without Quinnen Williams.
What a week. Who would have thought out of that 2022 draft class, the first player gone would be Sauce. Every other player is still on the team right now. They're all going to finish out their rookie deals. Except
Brees doesn't want to be, but yeah.
He will be. He's got no choice. He will be. Wild, man.
Any final thoughts?
What a week, man. One of the, candidly, one of the busiest days of my work career probably yesterday. I know, from the fan perspective, just emotionally draining, but also, man, I was fucking exhausted. Just so much to do, but here's the brighter days, man. Here's to all the draft talk that we're now going to have leading into the draft over the next 2 years. And I'm very excited for that. I think that's going to be very, very fun. Thank you all for sticking with us and joining us over the last 2 days, because we now streamed 2 days in a row, and I had a blast. Good time, man. Thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @Luciano. Follow me on Twitter at Justin T. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever your podcast. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also become a member today. Shout out Austrian Jet Fan for donating 10 more memberships today. You are the man. Shout out the entire nation of Austria. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time and live immediately following every single Jets game. So we'll be live on Sunday. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano. See you guys next time.
See you guys on Sunday, where they hopefully don't lose to Dylan Gabriel.